Hi, everyone. I am so sorry that I am unable to come to the open house tonight. I'm sure your kids told me or told you that I looked terrible today in class. I have severely injured my back, and probably right now I'm lying face down on my floor trying to untweak it. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow, so I sincerely apologize. I actually really look forward to open house every year because I get to see my kids' parents, which is nice. So I'm really sorry that I'm not there to be with y'all tonight, but I really appreciate your patience as I try to get my back to where it needs to be. So I'm going to actually start with our slideshow, which I had planned on showing you guys tonight. So let me go ahead and choose that. And there we go. Okay, so this is the slideshow that I planned on showing you guys tonight. I'm doing this during my planning period, so sorry for the bells. And the announcements are about to come on for a moment, so you get to see me. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, so what are our tasks for tonight? To basically see what we're doing in class, to clarify expectations, and to share information. I'll start by talking about the curriculum goals. The announcements are going to come on in a second, and you'll see me pledge allegiance to the flag. So just bear with me. The main thing that you need to understand is that our curriculum is aligned to the Common Core standards, and they're outlined on the Georgia Department of Education website. So I talk to my kids all the time about, like, why are we studying this and what ultimately is the goal? And I try to give them real life relevant information as to why we're studying the things that we're studying. But I'm always very quick at hand to give them the actual skills. So I'll recite, ELA GSE 11-12 RL1.A to them just because I have them memorized because I link the lessons to them. So sure you can hear the announcements. So you're going to see me do the pledge for 1 second. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So sorry. But yeah, so the main thing that you need to know is that we don't arbitrarily do anything in this class. At no point in time are we reading something because I like that particular thing. We're reading something because it is aligned to the core standards, to the Georgia performance standards. So there is a skill embedded in everything that we do. I don't believe in work for work's sake, especially with our kids. They are so overscheduled and overworked. I don't think that there's any need for me to pile on more for them to do. That being said, I think that writing is one of the most important aspects, and reading as well, I'll get into that in a minute, that I can teach your child, because it's one of those things that my subject touches in every other class. So your kid can be the most amazing mathematician, the most amazing biologist, but if they can't read well and write well, they won't be successful in their future career. So I take my job very seriously. They should have homework every night. And I know that I said that I don't believe in work for work's sake, but let me explain what I mean by that. We'll have multiple ongoing projects throughout the year. I'm going to show you my webpage that you can reference for all of those things. But what's often happening, especially with students now, is they are going through and they're saying, okay, well, I completed my work at school, which I give them time in class to complete work. I completed my work in school. I don't have any other homework to go. And you'll see this sometimes as they'll come home and they'll basically be like, I don't have any homework. Don't worry about it. But what they need to do, and this is one of those hidden things that makes kids more successful, is they need to go back and review what they learned for the day, right? So the National Education Association believes that students should have 10 minutes of homework per night per grade. So for example, in third grade, you would have 30 total minutes of homework. And when I say 30 total minutes, I don't mean for each subject, right? I mean 30 total minutes. So that means in 11th grade, they should have 110 minutes of homework per night. That likely is not going to be largely my class. They need to review their notes for the day, and they need to go back and review their notes for their other previous classes, but they should have homework, approximately 110 minutes of homework per night, right? So that could be reading for us. We try to do a lot of reading in class because I think reading fluency is something that needs to be worked on in front of me so that I can see with them how well they're reading and where we need to fix things. But they will have to read things on their own. And I give them the option oftentimes to do things online where they can read something online, but I really prefer that they actually get the paper version of the book. Why do I prefer the paper version? This is why. If you look at this, and I'm not going to read it to you, you can just read it while I'm sort of blathering on up here. If you look at this particular infographic, you'll see that a lot of families and a lot of students particularly are spending way more time on screens and not reading actual books. And reading is one of the most important things that they need to get as a skill before they go to college. Oftentimes kids will start a book and they'll be like, oh, I never got into it, and so I didn't try, and I didn't end up reading it. For some kids, reading is coming back into trend, which is great. But I think all kids can really benefit from reading, and reading for pleasure, not just for my class or, some other class, but like actually reading for pleasure. So this is what really scares me. And I would argue, because this is an older statistic, I would argue it's way more than what this actually says now. Let me hide this so that you guys can actually see so you will see that teenagers are spending approximately 9 hours a day on media use, right? And after what happened last year, I feel like our kids have been sucked into their phones and their computers more and more. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but all good things in moderation, right? So I feel as though 9 hours a day is a long time for our students to be exposed to social media, which, as we have seen, all these articles are coming out now basically saying that social media manipulates us, and they manipulate us for using time as a currency. The new currency is time, and your kids' attention, that's a form of currency for media companies. And I think that we need to be wary of that. So for that reason, I prefer that they write by hand, and I prefer that they read by hand, meaning the old-fashioned version of reading, that is with the book. This is why I want them to write notes by hand. Now, I know some students have accommodations in which they cannot write by hand, but I will say that the majority of students who are writing their notes by hand actually ended up doing far better. So this is a study that was done, and the kids who do well in college, the kids who do well out in the workforce, do these things by hand, whether it is writing notes by hand or sketchnoting or rewriting notes, like listening to a lecture and then rewriting notes by hand, so that they're transcribing, right? But they're transcribing in a kinesthetic way, kinesthetic meaning movement, right? So that's really important. Kids retain information better if they do it by hand. I really urge you to pause the video and just read this whole aspect of research that was done. It was done in 2015. The source is down there at the bottom if you're interested at all. But it's about comprehension and recall, and it really sort of speaks to my philosophy in regards to taking notes by hand. So too, independent reading is a big aspect of reading fluency, and that's something else that I want them to work on while they're with me. So what is it that we're reading? Like currently we're reading The Crucible right now. That's a Puritan text. We'll be reading Walt Whitman, Emily Dickinson. Your kids will come home sick of Emily Dickinson because I am obsessed with Emily Dickinson. I'm hoping to convince my fellow English teachers that we need to read Into the Wild right now. We read it last year and the year before because I love this book, but I don't think that they're convinced, so I'm hoping I can convince them. Of course, we'll be reading the classics, Thomas Paine, Benjamin Franklin, Declaration of Independence, all of those things. Gatsby is a favorite among the kids. They love reading The Great Gatsby. Hopefully, if we have time, I'd like for them to read The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. And then I always try to end the year with Herman Melville's Bartleby the Scrivener. It's one of my very favorites, but I have to wait until the end of the year. Otherwise, they will simply respond to me with everything with, I'd prefer not to. And if you don't know the reference for that, I encourage you to read the short story. So like I said, we'll be reading the Declaration of Independence. Those foundational texts are full of rhetoric. And for our rhetoric unit, that's something that is very important to me, that they understand the rhetoric that exists in there. I also supplement our class with philosophy. And this really hits on my super smart kids that are maybe super smart in math and science, but not so much in English language arts. The philosophy aspect, those kids really get drawn into. They are able to explore greater depths of understanding the text, and not just what is the plot of this, right? Because what is the plot of this should have been something they covered in third grade. So we're going to be looking more towards, what are the greater arguments and philosophies that exist behind this? We started this year looking at the philosophies of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism, and we're going to continue that on, and we're going to add more, John Locke and Thomas Hobbes as we go on. So what do we do with this stuff? You'll see these are vision boards that I do with the kids. They start off with a question. So this is a question that was given to me by Hannah Wiedemann. What is the nature of human beings being good or bad? The influence of outside event making a person good or all bad. For example, is the calling of spirits what turns Salem bad? So this is when we were reading The Crucible, and she had this sort of greater philosophical question. So what do? We put all of those things on this whiteboard. I use dry erase markers. I put all these things on these whiteboards, and we just sort of explore the philosophical concepts behind these different texts. Class rules are probably pretty simple. So like when you were in school, not too much has changed. Be respectful of one another. Understand that we're in a serious learning environment. Definitely my 6th and 7th period is full of crazy boys, which is fun. But when we have to get down to task, they get down to task pretty easily. Make sure you're responsible for all of your own things. Don't spread out all over the room. And make sure that you have your stuff easy at hand, right? Be ready as soon as the bell rings. When the bell rings, you should be fully seated, not crawling all over each other, fully seated, ready to go, just like you would at a job. You're supposed to be on time at a job. You're supposed to be on time to your class. It's pretty simple. Make sure as a parent that you're keeping track of when grade reports are issued. They're going to be issued a little bit differently this year. So, we would have like 6 weeks, 12 weeks grade reports. From what I understand, the new thing is every 4 weeks. So you might want to take a look at that. We just today, as in at 8:20 this morning, were given the go ahead to create our grade books. So I know that it's week 3 and you guys don't see any grades. Trust me, that has nothing to do with the teachers. They want to minimize the movement in our infinite campus system. And so they wait until after the 10-day count to allow us to create grade books. So I will be creating my grade book tonight, probably lying on my stomach because that seems to be the only thing that gives me any back pain relief. Make sure the other aspect of this is that you're talking to your kid. I think sometimes when we have these electronic access points to see our kids' grades, to be able to communicate to the teacher, that there's this disconnect about the conversation. And I'm not trying to tell you how to raise your kids. Trust me, raising a teenager, I can't imagine. It's very difficult. I only have cats, so like raising teenage cats is a very different thing. But I will say that when I do sit down and have meetings with parents where there is some sort of a miscommunication, often it's because there was no communication to begin with. So if you ask your kid, hey, what did you learn today? Or, and I know that they're going to do the same thing that they always do. I didn't learn anything, right? So get past that part and then tell me something interesting that happened today. Or, I see that you got a 60 on your quiz. What happened? Like, are you okay? Like, did you miss some information? What's going on there? And talk to them. And most importantly, ask them about what they want to do. Like, what are your goals? And I know that teenagers, their immediate response is, oh, I don't know. But like, that's okay. Okay, so then let's talk it out and think it together, right? Email counselors and teachers with concerns. So this is something that I have sort of come across with Milton community, is that there seems to be a disconnect as to who to go to if there is some sort of a concern with the teacher. Please email me first. Email me first and let's work it out together, because I guarantee you we can find a solution to this. I want only what's best for your kid. And emailing my department chair or emailing the principal, it's probably not going to get you the result that you wanted, simply because they don't know what the day-to-day happenings are in my classroom, and I do. So if there is a concern, please reach out to me. I only want us to be able to move your kid in the direction that they need to move into skill-wise. That's my job. So just reach out to me and let me know if you've got any concerns. If you've got any scheduling issues, email the counselors and let them know what's going on there. My contact information, the best way to contact me is via email. I'm super fast on email response. I'm sure some of my 9th grade parents who have me now again know how quickly I respond on email. So just shoot me a quick email and I'll be happy to respond to any questions that you have. Let me see if I can move. Can I move you? Oh, I can. Yay, I can move you. Okay, so these two are my websites, and I'm going to show you specifically. So this is the Kohanam website, and this is, and I'll show it to you in a minute. This is where all of our stuff is, and then over here, and you can pause this if you want to and use your phone to take a picture for the QR code. The other one is just our Amazon wish list, and it's just stuff that we need for the classroom. So let me show you the website. Whoop. Okay. So I think if I do this, come on. Oh, maybe if I Now I'll do this.